Leo, do you want to look at the camera? You want to look over there? All right. Hello, everybody. You're about to sit down and watch an interview I conducted with my buddy Eryn. We've been playing games now for over a decade, I'm guessing. I don't actually want to count the years. We've been playing games together for a long time. He's always been really good at them. And he surprised me, I think it was 2 years ago, when he mentioned that he wanted to make a game. I didn't doubt that he was able to do it. It just sounds like a crazy endeavor. So, this interview, I'm going to be poking his brain a little bit about that game. I've been a playtester for really, really early versions, like pre alpha practically. He's made a lot of progress on the game since I helped playtest some things. And at some point in the interview, you even listen to me talk about, how I wanted to make music for him. Whatever. That's not something I'm too involved in anymore. Anyways, hope you listen and I hope you enjoy. And after watching it, if you have, again, more criticism or comments or feedback, things that you want me to ask him if I get into an interview with him again, please let me know. Thank you. Eryn, good to see you.
Good to see you.
What kind of game are you making, if you don't mind sharing a little bit of the inner workings of that? Spill the beans for us.
So the game that I'm making is a tactics RPG, similar to Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, and the new Triangle Strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I originally started making I started making a side-scrolling platformer, and I wanted to see what kind of things I could make, what kind of systems I could introduce to it, and eventually I started building on it and decided I wanted to do something else. So re I retooled it. I took some of the things that I made for the platformer, like level design and systems loading, and
Mm-hmm.
I put it into a tactics, isometric 2D tactics game.
The usual stuff from like
Yeah,
PlayStation, Game Boy, that kind of stuff. I haven't
yeah.
played Triangle Strategy, but are you actually drawing influences from that game as you're working on yours?
I haven't actually played it either,
Okay.
but
Just letting
the
people know what the
influence is
game's like. Yeah.
the similarities. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And that kind of game combat instead of like a Fire Emblem kind of a thing. They're pretty
yeah,
similar, but I
yeah.
guess more
I
emphasis on
mean,
yeah.
the game that I'm making isn't going to be completely similar to these games either.
Mhm.
I did want to put my own spin on the tactics combat system,
Mhm.
and I didn't want it to just be I move my character here, you attack. I move my character here, you attack,
Yeah. And I've
or
seen a little bit of
whatever.
that. Yeah. Do you mind getting into your initiative system, or is that a trade secret? You don't want people taking
Yeah.
that.
Basically, the initiative is you have specific parts of the turn you can choose to act at. So you want to do an action at one part of the turn or a move at another part of the turn,
Mhm.
and the initiative will go through every initiative and do the action at that point when you selected it. So you could do a movement at the start of the initiative, and then at the end of the initiative, you could do your action, or you could do your action first and then do your movement later.
When you explain it that way, it seems a little bit different from what I played and tested. So I guess just to let people know, I've tested some of your game in its
Yeah.
very early stages. When you
Hmm.
say that, it makes me think more of just like a turn order. So for people who heard that explanation, how does it differ from issuing all of your commands at the start of the turn, and then something like speed would just make the characters operate at different times? So how does it differ from speed stat, for example, and turn order?
So a character, they have like their own speed stat,
Mm-hmm.
and then the characters choose their actions on the initiative order in order of their speed stat from lowest to highest. But you cannot choose an action higher priority on the initiative if your speed stat is too low, say. So the fastest characters will be able to act in the first portions of the initiative, and the slower characters will not have that option.
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of like it's a hidden, almost like active, like an ATB system almost. It's ATB kind of in a turn-based game. Yeah, I
Kind of.
think that's a good way to kind of put it. And then you mentioned earlier, because this is something that I wanted to know, if you were intending on making like a clone or a spiritual successor, are you going to be doing enough to make this unique, a unique title?
yeah, and I obviously do want to make it unique. I
Yeah.
don't want to do like a spiritual successor or a literal clone to say Final Fantasy Tactics or Ogre Battle or something.
Yeah, because we've seen a lot of
Because
those for Final Fantasy.
yeah, there's tons of them nowadays. I see them all over the place.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you don't mind, and I guess I'll just let the viewers know that because this is in its really early stages, gameplay is fairly minimal, but you do have things like classes and whatnot. If you want to talk a
Mhm.
little bit about that, they're basically your stereotypical standard fantasy classes. Are there more that you can share that are just crazy concoctions from your brain? Because if you think about tactics games, like Final Fantasy
Mhm.
Tactics Advance goes crazy with Tinkerer and units that use
Mhm.
gunpowder and stuff like that. Do you have any cool units that you're planning on adding later in the game?
Nothing like finalized yet, but
Mm-hmm.
I do want to have a lot of characters that have interaction with the terrain
Mm.
or producing, like, say, timed explosives, creating walls for protection
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or
I
other
haven't seen
sorts
that
of
done
traps.
really. That'd be really good with terrain manipulation because now that I think about it,
Yeah.
there isn't that much. Well, I mean, I haven't played enough games in that genre, but that'd be pretty
Yeah,
cool to
some of them
see.
have like you can modify terrain and how it impacts the flow of other characters. But
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
I'm
and
thinking of
also,
like,
didn't you say that you wanted a weather system in your game?
yeah, I do want to implement a weather system for certain areas of the game, like harmful or even just like a visual impact would be nice. But
Yeah, yeah. We'll get to stuff like the visuals and whatnot later. I'm curious
yeah,
though, why did you opt for building this from the ground up? And if you see something like RPG Maker where it has so many assets, I'm assuming RPG Maker would be saving you a lot of time. So what are you hoping for, either from the customization, or is this more just the you set a crazy ambitious goal for yourself and now you're determined to see it through?
yeah, it's partly I set a goal for myself and I want to complete it, but I started with the like initiative to see what I could do myself, and I want to just keep producing on my own and see what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to use a pre-generated system like RPG Maker. I don't think you could even do what I wanted to do in RPG Maker.
Okay.
I haven't actually looked into it very much, but I want to have more control over what I'm doing, and I believe things like RPG Maker would not. It'd be like you have to retool the whole system. I
Right,
believe.
right. At that point, with all of the customizations you would
Yeah,
do, you may as well do it yourself in your own way.
might as well do it.
So I'm really curious then. Even though I don't know anything about programming, the most I've ever tried is learning like a little bit of Python. Are you using like one programming language, a few of them, and they combine? Do you mind just keeping it kind of short for and in layman's terms for the programming side of things? How do you build
So
something from
the
the ground
programming
up?
language I'm using, the programming language I'm using is C sharp,
Okay.
and I just have a couple libraries that implement like common terms like vectors and the the drawing tools. That's the only thing I've taken from other like programs,
Mm-hmm.
really. Not the things I haven't created myself. I've just taken some pre-generated things to make it easier.
Yeah. So you could do things. I'm assuming there's like a community on a place like GitHub, if not GitHub itself, where if you have a specific thing that you need for your game, you can maybe find that, like, I don't know, unit collision or
Sure,
something,
yeah,
or is that easy to do
you,
yourself?
you could find things like that, but often I tend to just try and program it myself
Hey, good job.
instead of trying to go out and take things from other people. Or
Hmm.
if I do that, I go and learn how they did it and try and do it myself whenever
So
possible, really.
if we can just forget that art and music and those things are part of the game, how far along, maybe percentage wise, are you to having like a completed framework for your game? And don't even worry about like, oh, you did 100% of the story and this is the game from start to finish. But if you were to have a playable game and, like, let's say release a tutorial or release a prototype, how far are you from something like that?
I'd say I'm at about like 85% done the
Hey,
framework and the battle system and all that.
yeah, good stuff. So what is the dream visual style then? And you could pick any graphics and you could pick any music you want. Where are you drawing inspiration from? What do you want the game to look like?
Well, I would like it to look like the 2.5D you see in Triangle Strategy or Tactics. If I wanted to do that, I would have to redo a lot of programming to implement the 3D models and all sorts of things I'd have to
Yeah.
change. But the music, I haven't really decided on what I want it to be so far, but
Mm-hmm. uh,
nothing like 8-bit or anything like that. I
yeah.
don't think that would fit the themes.
Yeah. I'll inform everybody that in addition to me being a little bit of a play tester, I offered Eryn that I would try to create some music for his game because a year or two ago, now I can't even remember when it was, I had some aspirations of learning how to produce music, and I did, very amateurish, but I did it. And then I threw some tracks at you that were somewhat complete, but
Mhm.
I mean, I didn't really know what I was doing. And we'll see like how your game comes along before you finalize that. Would you want to learn how to produce your own music too, or are you going to seek a third party?
I will probably try and produce my own.
Okay, well
I will try to learn at least.
at least I can teach you some of that because then you could
Yeah.
pick your own style and everything, but I can teach you how to use whatever program.
Mhm.
With the visual style, because you mentioned like the really ambitious 2.5D, and that requires a little bit of programming things differently. Are you like, can you see yourself maybe settling for a style that's good enough? Like you can settle for an SNES style or for a PlayStation 1 style, like a Wild Arms kind of look or something. And then maybe just
Mhm.
you'll have your experience, you'll have your completed game, and you could always revisit more complex things in the future.
Yeah. I probably will have to settle for like a similar to Wild Arms style or an older SNES style, or just a 2D style in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty much what I have right now, but I don't believe I see myself going and producing the 2.5D you'd see in Tactics or Triangle Strategy, or even some other games newer. Like I think it was Anno I looked at
Mm-hmm.
recently. It was very interesting 2.5D style, but
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't see myself doing anything like that. Just sticking with what I have.
So this game, let's just call it like a really humble project, and you're chipping away at it and you're working on it when you can in your free time. But if you could have any realistic amount of success with it, and like I'm asking you this because you know what kind of work has to go into something to make it successful. How far are you
Mhm.
going to push yourself to make this, let's just say, a small commercial success, a big commercial success, or it's always going to be your pet project in the background?
I do want to try and push it to be a small commercial success at some point.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, it is a pet project, mostly doing what I can in my free time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really have a lot right now, trying to get more. But
Yeah.
whenever I have free time, I try and produce some new things in the game or programming new art. Um, I don't have any goals for the small production yet,
Yeah.
but possibly hiring other people to work with me in the future if needed,
Well, let's hear
just to get it out.
yeah, how far can this game get with you working on it on your own? Maybe at the pace that you're going. Even if you think you can get more free time in the future, let's just say the pace that you're going.
Mhm.
How quickly can you get this thing up off the ground where you would maybe share it with like I don't know. I guess a community that's larger than just your small amount of playtesters, or
Mhm.
also give me some info of when you would want to share it to more people, like an early access maybe. When would you want to do that?
Yeah.
How long would that take?
So I could probably get it out to a larger playtesting audience within a couple months if
Wow.
I really worked at it at the pace I was going at before. Right now, I haven't been doing as much
Mm-hmm.
because I haven't had a lot of free time. My free time does vary week to week. So when I do have more free time, I'm able to get a lot more done. And what I would want to get finished before I get out to a larger playtesting audience is
Mm-hmm.
like at least a semblance of a story from beginning to wherever.
haven't even
And
asked you about the story yet. Even in
yeah,
our little
no,
conversations, I don't think I know too much about the story aside
there's not that
from.
much to do anyway. Not much to talk about for the story yet.
Mm, okay, okay. Is that one where you'd want to
Generally,
keep that
just like a
under
beginning of
wraps?
the game, and then somewhere to progress for the playtesters to actually try.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Maybe like a couple scenarios or dungeons or overworld maps or whatever.
Yeah. So, and we can always like dive into more detailed questions another time. I think this is kind of to let people know that, hey, here's Eryn. He exists. He's a busy guy,
Hmm.
married life, work life, but he's trying to make a game in the background. So I think if people have different questions, and as I mull over this, and you put more time and effort into your game, and you get the next version, the next stage, right? I can ask you some
Hmm.
more in-depth questions, but I still have at least one more for you right now. So let's just say
Hmm.
this game, you complete it whenever it is, or even if you get a team working under you and you have more time. Do you have other projects in mind? Because I know, like from my own experience, just because I'm working with one thing doesn't mean I stop thinking about others. It just so happens that you only have time for one project. But what other genres have you maybe thought
Yeah.
of, or other game ideas?
So I did do some experimenting in Unity for like a first-person dungeon crawling game.
Okay.
That one is more similar to like the first-person dungeon crawlers you would see in the past, like let's say Ultima Underworld
Mm-hmm.
or Kingsfield, Arx Fatalis, similar to like an old school kind of game. That's what I would like to produce, but don't have the time right now.
I've never
Busy with
heard
something
anybody
else.
say they want to make a game like Kingsfield. Like
No?
only you would say that. This is the guy who, after he was done with Dark Souls, he went back through From's catalog and he played the old Kingsfield games like a maniac. You beat them all, right?
Yeah,
You're
of course I
nuts.
did. They're
Yeah,
great.
they're great. Okay, I'll keep that in
They're
mind.
great.
All right, Eryn, thank you so much for talking to me. If there's
Mhm.
any last comments you want to say about the game for now, you can get it out. Otherwise, we're going to be putting together some questions for another interview.
There's not much to say at this moment in time. No, sorry.
No, hey, don't apologize. From what I heard, though, your progress is actually coming along really well because you
Mhm.
saying that you're basically 80% through a skeleton is pretty impressive. I thought you were closer
Yeah,
to some number below 50. Hey, good job,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
go ahead, go ahead.
From the what you played in the past, I had produced a lot of more systems,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot more in place now than I think it was like a year ago you played. So
Yeah.
it's been a
Early
while.
COVID, yeah, for sure. A long time
Yeah.
ago. All right, hook me up with another demo, and I'll give you my
Mhm.
feedback on that one. Thank you again for
All
giving
right.
me time here, and thanks for talking about your little pet project, which I know isn't always easy to talk about something that's
Mhm.
personal to you. And we'll catch you next time.
No problem.